First of all, thank you guys for showing up here on a Friday morning, bright and early, right? It's hard to get off your bed early in the morning, any day of the week, but on a Friday, when you're looking forward to the weekend, to come here. So this really means a lot to me that you guys are here. As Evan mentioned, I'm from Trinidad, Trini in the house. Andrew's Trinidadian too, Trini to the bone, as we say. So I'm going to take you through, talk a little bit about myself, where I'm from, take you through some journey that I have of going into the dark side, the darkest side I've ever been in my life, and coming out on the brightest side I could ever experience. So born and raised in Trinidad and Tobago, I currently have a daughter. She's 30. She'll be 31 next week. My wife, Tracy, is here with me, always my sidekick right along the side. Growing up in Trinidad, I loved to run, play, jump. I was a tomboy, if anybody know. And as I started to talk about Trinidad, my accent may come out. So you might want to just pay a little closer attention. So I'm mindful of that. So I grew up in Trinidad, loving to climb and run, jump, bike, anything boys were doing, I want to be there. And my mom used to say, "You're a girl, you need to be in the house." But I wanted to do, I love nature. I love climbing trees, the coconut trees, picking mango, picking guava trees. I became a martial artist. I spent a lot of years as a martial artist. I'm a first-degree black belt. A lot of people don't know that. I wanted to become a mechanic, but in Trinidad back in the days, they didn't allow women to be mechanics. My 3 brothers became mechanics, and I was stuck with sewing. Yeah. I had to do home ec and learn to sew, but anything I take on, because I was forced to be there, I kind of embraced it and I enjoyed it. And I was really good at it because I'm all about really the detail of things. I'm a big picture person, but I'm also a very detail-oriented person at the same time. I don't know how those 2 things work, but they seem to work well for me. So I left Trinidad, I would say, about age 20. I moved to the United States. I went to New York. You know, they say the U.S. was paved with gold. My brother was very disappointed when he landed in New York and he realized the road did not have gold on it. That is a true story. So he was very disappointed. But we came here for the opportunity, for more opportunity. I feel like we work harder than when we're at home, actually. Home is just kind of a little more easygoing, more relaxed, kind of like, you know, just kind of chill, and more family, kind of sitting outside and just kind of hanging. It's a different scene. So I haven't been back home in a while. I miss that, and hopefully I will get back there next year and spend some time with my family. So moved here at age 20. I lived in New York. Then I went to New Jersey. Then from New Jersey, I think I went to Connecticut. Then Texas. Then from Texas, I went to Arizona. From Arizona, I think Tampa. Then Georgia. Then here. I know, I traveled. But what brought me here? What brought me here was to heal. Let me back up a little bit. While I was in Texas, I was working for The Gap. I was a GM. I had a lot of different stores, retail background in leadership, running about 250 employees plus on any given day. And I was going through some pain, and I didn't know what it was. And the doctors just could not figure out what it was. And I was just plowing through. I was just going, because that's what I do. I just keep going. Trying different doctors, it was getting so bad I couldn't see, I was limping, I was grouchy, I was irritating, but all that felt normal, right? Being grouchy and everybody's irritating me, and I'm like thinking like, what is wrong with them? You know, but it's me and my pain. The pain was just that much. So after about 3 doctors, finally a doctor said, "I know what's wrong with you." And lesson learned. I went into his office judging him, all right? I'll be honest. Because he had an office like Flintstone, I like to say dabba dabba doo, like old school, like stuff I haven't seen. And I'm kind of like modern, contemporary. I love like coloring outside the box. I love like, you know, anything new. And so I was like, well, what did I do? Anyway, he was a doctor that said, "I know exactly what's wrong with you, and this is where I'm going to send you." And again, he sent me to another older doctor. I was like, oh my God, another old doctor. Anyway, this doctor sent me for an MRI on my neck. And I'm like, why is he sending me for an MRI on my neck? Before, people was treating me, telling me it was stress, they was telling me it was allergies, it was giving me all kind of medicine that wasn't working. Anyway, the MRI came back, and he's like, "I am not sure how you've been walking around. It was just that bad. My disc was compressed so flat, hairline cracks on it. And it was compressed against my spinal cord and my spinal nerves. And he's like, we need to like take care of this stuff right away. So I was like, okay. So they went, and the first thing, of course, insurance. You have to deal with insurance, insurance. Don't get me started on that. Although I had a life insurance company, they had to put you through physical therapy. That didn't work. I had to try to do steroids in my neck. They had to put me to sleep for that. But what happened is, when I woke up, my body and my arms was worse with the steroids, because my body, it was so swollen on the inside, there was very little space. So once the fluid went in there and touched my nerves, it just asticated everything. My hands, it was just crazy. So the doctor right away knew, like, you need to have surgery. So when I did it with surgery, he sent me to another guy. Here I go with the judgment again. I didn't learn then. I learned now, though, right? This young guy. Now, I was complaining about the old one. Now I got a young guy, and I'm like, what the hell? Excuse my French. I just got to be in the flow of things. Anyway, he was a sports medicine guy up in Woodlands in Texas. And Woodlands is one of the upper high neighborhoods where a lot of people with money are. But he was a very young guy, and he said that you need to have surgery. And he explained to me that he needed to go through the front of my neck. And there I go judging again. I don't know anything. I'm glad somebody found some help. But in my front of my neck, people who have neck surgery always go from the back. He was explaining to me that was easier to do. You can't see my scar from that. And sure he was. He was a great doctor. He said you would need another surgery in about 5 to 10 years because the other part of your neck is herniated. But I don't want to do it right now because there's a limit to your mobility of your neck. 8 weeks recovery. Go. He was so good. Smooth. Not an issue with him. I went back to work. Sure enough, like, let's fast forward, 5 years later, I went to unplug a plug, and I felt this electric shock just shocked me. Instantly, I knew what it was, right? I got to know what it was. So I was like, I know what it is, because it was right about 5 years into the doctor telling me that. So I went to my primary care, because at the time I was living, I wasn't in Texas anymore, in Houston. I was now in Tampa. So I went to the doctor, and I said, I know what it is. I just need an MRI. And she just listened to me. She sent me for the MRI, and she's like, yep, that's what it is. So we went on, and we had to move straight into the second surgery. Well, that's when my life kind of really changed for the dark side. I came out of that next surgery unable to walk. My right side was weaker than my left side. I could barely hold my head up and my neck up. And nobody seemed to be able to help me. They were feeding me with oxy, fentanyl, gabapentin. My blood pressure was just out of control. It was just going up and up and up, in and out of the hospital. But the doctor was scared. When he saw me 7 days later for the follow-up visit, and he realized I actually really couldn't use my right leg. There was no reflex. I couldn't pick it up on my own, but it was attached to my body. He's like, he sent me to one of his friends to do like what could possibly wrong with her. So they did an MRI in my brain, and they saw some spots in my brain, and they said, you have MS. He said, normally I'll send you for the other test, but I'm so sure it's MS, and let me show you why. And he showed me all these spots in my brain. And he wanted to send me to treatment right away. My girlfriend at the time worked for HCA Hospital, and she worked in the executive team, and she's like, you need a second opinion. Don't start taking any medication yet. So my primary care doctors from India, I have a lot of respect for Indian doctors. For me, I think they use their intelligence, and they have a sense with source that they really don't need equipment to really tell them what's wrong. There's just the equipment, it actually is verifying what they already know is true. That has been my experience with every single one of them. And a lot of times they don't have good bedside manners, but for me, just fix the problem, right? So my primary care doctor was from India. Her husband was from India too. They were both arranged marriages. He was cardiologist, she was primary care, infectious disease. I love infectious disease doctors because they tend to know a lot more about the body. So she had a recommendation of a doctor. Went to him, just a stoic like this, don't smiling, nothing, but brilliant. asked me all these questions, poked around. He wanted to see me again. The first time he said, I think you may be depressed. I was like, no, I'm not depressed. Are you kidding me? I was actually in denial. So the second time I came back, he said, I would want to give you, it'd be hard for you not to be depressed going through what you were going through. Remember, I can't walk, right? So at that time, I was actually had to be in a wheelchair. I didn't tell you that part. And my leg, I had to sit in the wheelchair. My leg always had to be up there. So they had to build a wheelchair for me to sustain my leg hanging out. And my neck ended up being in the neck brace way longer than I expected it to be because I couldn't hold my head up on its own for any expected time. So he's like, don't take this medication. If you get stamped with MS, then, that's stuck with you on a medical record for a very long time. So he saw me a couple more times. He gave me some depression medicine to take. I was like, finally, okay, I'm gonna take it. But it was like a little too late, but still not a little too late because I'm here today. So what happened to me is the relationship I was in with two strong women, navigating world, both working, making six figures. All of a sudden, I stopped one day and I couldn't work anymore. And now I'm 100% dependent on somebody. Can you imagine that? I couldn't go to the bathroom without help. I couldn't bathe myself. I didn't tell you that part, huh? I couldn't shower myself. It was so frustrating. So I'm plugged up on a chair all the time. Somebody had to bring my food. And when I'm eating, because I had so much drugs in my system, I was falling asleep like a drug head. Just halfway with a spoon up my mouth, I'm sleeping because I was in high dosage of opioids, like high. And blood pressure, 6 blood pressure pills 3 times a day. They just didn't know. And how was I functioning? The doctors didn't know. So what happened with me with my depression, I just started taking the medication, but as you know, depression medication takes a little bit to work. One day, I know I was planning it. So I have to be honest with myself, I was planning it. I'm like, I don't know how I can continue to do this. And forgive me if I draw some tears because what's happening for me right now is I'm taking myself back into the place. I feel like I'm healed through it, but putting myself back in that spot is going to probably create some emotions. It was really hard. I felt alone. I felt like nobody understood. I felt like nobody cared. And I felt like nobody even know how to help me. And I felt like I was just existing. I was just out in a chair, didn't do anything for myself. I had to depend on somebody else to pay the bills for me, pay my bills. I had to ask for help. I didn't know what that was like. It was hard. And one day, we're upstairs in the bedroom, and it was some uncomfortable discomfort. I think I needed to go to the doctor, and it was really an inconvenience because now I'm in and out of the doctor, and I can't drive, so my girlfriend had to do everything. And you can tell that she was irritated. She did not deal well with what I was going through. She saw this strong person, all of a sudden, this person that was strong, now just helpless. And I just had a hard time feeling that energy because I feel energy really strong. And so I went downstairs, she went to work, I went downstairs, and I just planned it. I had 6 bottles of pills, all just refilled of high blood pressure pills. So they each had like 90 pills in them. And I had oxygen, I had other things too, but I just wanted to leave this earth. And I just wanted to leave this earth, and I just wanted to leave peacefully, I just wanted to stop suffering because I was really suffering. So I opened up the bottles one by one, and I poured them in my hand with a bottle of water, and I tossed them in my mouth. And I just drank the water, and I went back to sleep. And I just knew that I was gone. I knew that my heart blood pressure would just fall so low that I would just leave this earth peacefully, and I would stop suffering. She came back home because apparently she was calling me. My phone was upstairs. because now I'm in a zombie. All I'm thinking is like, I'm not going to be here when you come back. You can't handle me. I can't handle myself. And I just don't want to exist in this world from somebody who was just having life, full of life and loving life. And she came home, and I was in her bedroom, a place that I usually never am. So she came, she was looking for me, she found me, and she was like, she woke me up and she's like, you okay? I was like, yeah, I'm okay, I'm good. Drowsy, but I was usually drowsy anyway, but it was a different type of drowsy this time. She said, are you sure? She said, I was calling you. I said, my phone's probably upstairs. And she's like, did you do something? Because something just doesn't feel right. And I'm denying them. No, I didn't do anything. Finally, she got it out of me, and I was like, yes. And she said, what did you do? And I'm groggy, and I'm like, oh, this is what I did. She's like, come and go to the hospital. I said, no. She said, why? I said, I don't want to be here anymore. I'm tired. I'm hurting. Nobody can help me. You know, you can't help me. I'm just tired. And she said, Karen, please come and go to the hospital. I don't want to call the ambulance, because if I call the ambulance, they're going to Baker Act you. It's like, they can't make me go. I don't care. So she had to call the ambulance. And they came. And they're trying to make me go. But I'm like, I'm not going anywhere. You know, I could barely walk anyway. Now, mind you, this is like, first thing in the morning, I took the stuff probably about 7. So this is probably kind of about 4 o'clock. The stuff is in my system good already, right? Somebody had, some divine intervention came to me. And the ambulance finally got me to go to the hospital. And of course, mandated, I was in Newport Richey, Tampa area, 3 days Baker Act, right? And then they said because of the severity of the stuff, they had to keep me longer, 10 more days of Baker Act. I got into that hospital. My primary care doctor came to me, and she said, Karen, you're such a beautiful human being. Like, wow, you don't even deserve, we got to put you in big action. You don't deserve to go there. I wish I can, do something about it. You don't deserve to be in there. I know. You know you need help. And she kind of really talked to me. Me and my doctor built a relationship because, if you can't tell, I'm gay. That's my wife. She's from India, so they have a different role model of that. And she just was fascinated the way I moved through the world prior to me getting ill. So one time, her office used to be always packed. She kept me there an hour and a half, asked me questions about my lifestyle, right? Because she worked, my girlfriend at the time worked for HCA, and so the doctors were kind of reported to her. So she saw her. But she didn't walk through the world like I did. I walked through the world proud of who I am. She walked through the world hiding. So now she had an opportunity to talk to me and find out about me and my lifestyle and stuff. So she's so curious that we just made a bond, and then she understands that world just because she reached out to me. While backed up an hour and a half, her lobby is packed with people, but she just took an interest and really wanted to know. And so I love when people do that. So she said, you didn't belong there, but we've got to put you there. I will come and visit you. And she was really gentle with me. All right, so 3 days, I got out of the hospital. I was in the hospital for probably a good week, 2 weeks maybe, because the severity of the damage just really damaged everything. My blood pressure was high, and it was low. I couldn't walk. My potassium I barely had any potassium in my body, so they had to give me potassium. That is not fun. Don't ever want to get IV potassium. It burns. Hollering is really very painful. It takes about 4 hours to go through your system. I had to get that 3 or 4 times. It's very, very painful in the vein. The pills was not going to work because I needed the potassium that bad. So finally, when I got out of the hospital and I had to go into the Baker Act, I will tell you that I cried walking through that area. Because all I could think is, you don't belong there. You don't belong there. I don't belong here. And I got in there and I cried. I was in a corner. I didn't want to leave the room. And I cried. And then one nurse, I will never forget him. He came to me and he said, you want to get out of here? Let me tell you what to do. You got to pretend like you're okay. Yeah, that's what he said. He said, you're going to go out in those groups and you're going to watch TV with them and you're going to join the team and you're going to pretend you're okay. And I'm like, okay, I got this. So I did that. I had to pretend that I was okay to get out of that place. But then I promised the universe, source, God, whatever name, the form that created all of us, that I would never do that again, and that I needed help. And all I needed you to do is to guide me. And I've never done that again. I've never thought about it again. What I started doing, now I was still in dire shape, right? Can't walk on my own, a lot of pain, still taking all those drugs. I decided to dive in. Meditation, beautiful thing. I tell you, it saved my life. It's a beautiful thing. So I decided to dive in. I started to do research. I started to meditate, quieting all that noise. I started begging for periods of a break, because I'll tell you, my level, my pain was at a max of a 10. Like, sometimes I say past a 10. I was diagnosed later with CRIP, which is complex regional pain syndrome, which it says is one of the most painful pains that exists, because my central nerves was damaged, and the pain was just like so like incredibly painful. So being in that dark space and then using meditation to come out, learning to quiet my mind so I can really hear that message clearly is what I had to learn to do and guide me through getting help. So now physical therapy is coming to the house 3 times a day. Oh, what a pain in the butt. You imagine having you running around, jumping, swinging, doing martial arts, climbing trees, jumping, and now somebody teaching you to walk because you can't walk. They teach me to use a cane when after I finish the wheelchair. I literally was walking like a cripple. This leg was dragging. My body couldn't balance. I would fall to the side all the time. And when I got back into the real world, I'll get you there. What happened to me is I had to pretend like I was fine. I always was falling, grabbing onto somebody because I was like trying to still hide my cane, you know. So digging deep inside. Meditation saved my life. Going inside saved my life. I had to go in there and gut all that stuff out of there. But source is what guided me. And through the process of all of that, by meditating, the universe said, I want you to do something with kids. And I'm like, what? No. I got one daughter. I'm looking forward to her to like moving out. You know, you love them, but you still want them to go about their way. But it wouldn't leave me alone. I'm meditating 3-4 times a day because it's the only time I have sanity. Remember, I'm at the height of my pain. I was on the height of my pain at a 10, even on Oxy and Flexerol and gabapentin and all those things. My pain did not seem like those things didn't seem like it was helping me. When they were wearing off, I can tell they were helping, but while they were on, my pain level was still so high that it didn't seem like it was helping. So I was like begging. I was like, God, please, I just need just 60 seconds, just one minute of just like to be pain-free, because I didn't know how that felt anymore. It was just so painful. Excuse me. So diving deep, when I finally listened, it said to me, you need to move to somewhere near water. I was living in Georgia at the time. Need to move to somewhere near water to help you heal. I was still walking like a cripple, can barely hold my head up. I couldn't drive at the time either. Slowly gotten back to driving. When the doctor said, yeah, you can drive, I had to use mirrors because I couldn't turn my neck. I have limited mobility on my neck because it's fused from 4 to 7, but it was worse. I couldn't even do this. I used to have to I remember when you probably met me, I still was like doing like this most of the time. Like, this is limited. So where was I? Water. Yes. So universe said you need to move to near water to heal. So I was like, okay, where do you want me to go? And so what I started doing, right, instead of using my human self to answer questions, I now started using source to tell me what to do. And I'm speaking to source like I'm speaking to you. Where do you want me to go? You need to go somewhere in water. I said, okay, California, Florida, like where? And it led me here to South Florida. When I moved to South Florida, I spent from 5 o'clock in the morning to 11 o'clock at night on the beach. You remember A1A when you could park your car right there and then the beach was right there before they put all the walls in? That was my favorite things to do because I could barely walk. I was still using cane. So I needed to be as close as possible. And walking in the sand was even harder. Walking in the water is even much harder. It seems like it was easier. When I came out, my body was getting such a workout, but you feel it trying to walk on the sand. It's really tough. So I spent all those hours for like a full year on the beach every single day. Can you imagine? People watching, sleeping, sunbathing, trying to read. I don't think I ever read anything, but I was spending more time. And that kind of helped me just really to be the quiet, the rest of me saying, and just deeper inside. When I moved here, I had to rent a house, room. First time in my life. It was a hard experience. That it's expensive to live down here, right? Yeah. When I moved down here, I was like trying to find a room for $500, and I was finding stuff. I was like, oh my God, this is really expensive. So that was a hard adjustment because I've always lived on my own or lived with someone who came to live with me, or we find a neutral place to live. But to have to go into someone's space and to rent a room, that was really a tough adjustment to do. But I did that. There was a lot of lessons for me to learn in this thing, right? Judgment. Huge judgment. I judge people who went through depression. What do you mean they can't move? Let me tell you, when you're under depression, it's hard to get you up and move. It's tough. So people, anxiety, like, what's that? What is this fear? I had all these things. And then I was homeless in the process of all of that. When I moved down here, the place that I originally was supposed to go to didn't work out. So I was in my car because the money that I had, I couldn't spend in a hotel until I got a room. So I was living in my car for a few weeks. A lot of people don't know that. Later on in my life, I spent 4 months in my car living in the height of my pain. So I had to humble myself. I had to learn to ask for help. There's people out here that wants to help. I will tell you that. People just don't know, right? Until we ask, right? And we all go through different things in our lives, at different times in our lives. And it's okay to ask for help when you need it. I don't usually throw myself on people. I would say, if you need something, ask me. I don't know if what your needs are. So Bowtie Kids was my nonprofit. And in the process of meditating, that was one of the messages that came up. You need to do something with kids. Okay, what? And for a few years, I was like, no. And then finally, it kept coming closer and closer because of my meditations is happening regularly. And then finally I said, okay, what do you want me to do with kids? So I just surrendered. And the message come, kids with chronic pain. Kids with chronic pain. Who thinks kids have chronic pain? Anybody? We always think just grown folks have chronic pain, right? Isn't that not true? Yeah. So when I did my research, because of course I have to validate it. The universe is telling you one thing, but you got to go validate it as a human being. And it's like 1 in 4 kids live with chronic pain. I say, you got to be kidding me. And people are not talking about it. So that is the journey of what started of me forming my nonprofit, from pain, a depth of my pain, to purpose. How much time I have, so I know where I keep going?
5 minutes.
5 minutes. I got to get questions. All right. So let me wrap up. Bowtie Kids was born because of my own personal journey with chronic pain, attempted suicide, and the hype of opioid addiction. My body, I wasn't mentally addicted to opioid, but my body was physically addicted to opioid. And when I discovered that, I went the holistic way and did my own research and got myself off of it on my own. It was not an easy job. It took me about 3 months to finally not have the crave to put the patch back on, but a whole year of really cleansing my blood through dandelion and milk thistle and there's all these great herbs, sage and thyme, and just really cleansing my blood. And I feel much, much better when I got off of those pain meds than when I was taking them. Now, I still have a spinal stimulator in me. A spinal stimulator is implanted in my C4. It's a natural, and it was surgically implanted to help you manage the pain, but my body is healing, right? And how I know my body is healing? Because I'm still doing those things I need to do, but when the battery is dead, I know I need to charge it, but the pain is not as bad anymore. So I can tell. I can feel the pain now, but it's not like, oh my God, my battery's dead. I got to run and go charge it, because Tracy would know. She knows when I'm not feeling well, when my pain started hanging. But it's healing, and it's healing because I'm putting all those right properties inside of my body now to kind of heal the information and clean the blood and do my liver and all that fun, kidneys, all that fun stuff. Fast forward, because I have 2 minutes left, March of 2020, I was diagnosed with lupus and rheumatoid arthritis. I have had to have that all my life, right? That don't just show up, right? So all these years, I'm 55 in May, the doctors did not even know that. So here me suffering with all this stuff, and they can't find it. That's my timer.
No, you're good. You're good. Keep going.
So, needless to say, I love life now. I love living. And I've been the happiest I've ever been in my life. There's a joy that comes from the inside. I just walk through this world with just flowing and doing what I need to do with ease. And what I want everybody to know is there is a brighter side. And you get to go in and trust yourself. We all have what we need to be fully expressed and be fully who we are. We all are individual people. No two people are alike. Be yourself. And reach out for help if you need. I'll take some questions.
But before he cuts off the recording, can you tell us the services you provide with Bowtie?
Yes, and I'll take questions too. Anybody had any questions for me before I say that? All right. So currently right now, I like to say we're in toddler stages. So we currently have 3 programs. Our first program is our KEYS program, Kids Experience and Empowered Support. And really is a program we created for them to, kids get to be kids, where they can go and have some fun, together, whether it's rides or, experiencing the flamingo garden or just getting out there and just being kids, running around, just being kids. The second program we have is our Bowtie Garden program. And the Bowtie Garden program, it's designed so they can nurture the plants, but they're nurturing themselves. It's a tool. And it's more than just planting, right? It doesn't have any dirt. It doesn't involve dirt. It's aeroponics. It grows up in the air. And the kids just love it because they get to learn about the plants. They get to learn what the plants eat. They get to learn about bees and stems and leaves. And they're more important, they get to learn about themselves and build relationship and build a sense of belonging and have a healing and a sense of fun. We're teaching them how to eat healthy too, but they don't really know that. The third program we have is Ways of Being. The Ways of Being is where we use service providers in a holistic form, acupuncture, breath work, yoga, meditation, cranial sacrum, anything that's holistic. We help them, we support them with that. Everything that we do for them is at no cost to them at all. So the money that we raise, everything goes back into the program. We currently don't have any paid employees.